Discover the incredible heartwarming moment a billionaire transforms a poor single mother's life. In the bustle of a chaotic Chicago suburb, Sarah's heart raced like a wild stallion. She flipped burgers at the diner, her hands moving in a blur. Each patty sizzled, but the real heat was in her chest, not just from the fryer, but from the relentless weight of worry. Her spirited 7-year-old, Jake, played joyfully on the swings nearby, his laughter the only thing that could pierce through her storm of duties. Yet, beneath his gleaming eyes lay the shadow of grief, a burning reminder of his father, a brave veteran lost too soon. Can a child truly understand the depth of sacrifice? Sarah fought to hide her own tears, hoping to keep a sense of normalcy for Jake. Her mornings were an endless cycle of tasks. One moment, she was pouring coffee at the cafe, and the next, she was hustling at the diner. She balanced 2 jobs like a tightrope walker, all while desperately trying to provide for Jake. The thrill of having him by her side at the playground was quickly snuffed out by the nightly visit of bills threatening eviction, each envelope heavier than the last. Just one more day, she whispered to herself, drawing strength from determination, even when pride kept her from reaching out for help. Meanwhile, across town, a disconnect ran deep within billionaire Mark, a man who had once sought dreams among the same playgrounds Sarah frequented. As he mingled at a charity gala meant to uplift the community, he felt a gnawing emptiness beneath the layers of wealth. The laughter around him felt abrasive as he wandered through the crowd, yearning for something real, something genuine. It was then that he encountered Sarah, a fierce mother protecting her dream with fiery passion. "You don't understand what it takes to raise a child alone," she exclaimed, confronting a patroness' misguided concern for her parenting. At that moment, Mark saw strength and resilience in someone who had lost everything. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. Moved by Sarah's indomitable spirit, Mark made a secret decision: he would help fund her dream of opening a bakery. The idea blossomed in Sarah's mind like spring flowers breaking through winter's grip. Imagining a place filled with warmth and joy, she felt her heart dance with possibility. Yet, just as hope turned into excitement, disaster struck. A failed inspection left her horrified, her dream dangling by a frayed thread. As the tension thickened, Sarah discovered the truth about Mark. Shock stunned her. Why would he, a billionaire, care for someone like her? Betrayal and gratitude warred within her heart, igniting a fire that challenged everything she believed about wealth and success. The stakes soared, their connection unraveled as doubt crept in. With her bakery on the brink and the darkness of uncertainty looming, Sarah grappled with her worth, and Mark questioned the true value of his monetary help. Both had to confront their demons. Would Sarah conquer the obstacles, reclaim her dream, and forge a brighter future for Jake? Or would all their hopes fade into another night of despair? Sarah stood in her small apartment, a storm of emotions swirling within her. The kitchen, once filled with visions of baking delicious pastries and the smell of freshly brewed coffee, now felt like a prison of broken dreams. Everyday items, Jake's toys strewn about, the empty fridge, and unopened bills served as constant reminders of what was at stake. She paced in circles, her heart heavy. Memories of her father's advice echoed in her mind: "Never give up on your dreams, Sarah." But how could she believe that now? The bakery, her lifeline, seemed like a fantasy slipping through her fingers. She could still picture the cheerful pastel colors, the laughter, and the warm hugs from her customers. But the harsh reality was that without a miracle, it just wouldn't be. "Mom." Jake's soft voice broke her reverie. He stood at the doorway, his innocent gaze lighting up the dim room. "Are you okay?" At that moment, she realized that pretending everything was fine was not only hurting her but also affecting her son. She knelt down, pulling him into an embrace. "I'm just a little tired, sweetheart. But you know what?" "What?" His wide eyes sparkled with curiosity. I'm going to fight for our bakery. It's going to be so special, just like we dreamed. The resolve in her voice surprised her, but Jake's smile ignited a flicker of hope. Mark, meanwhile, sat in his sleek office overlooking Chicago's skyline, lost in thought. He had witnessed Sarah's agony and strength, and it haunted him. Why had he chosen to help her? He could have simply turned away, gone back to his world of extravagance. Instead, he felt a magnetic pull towards her, something intangible, something real. But as he stared out at the bustling city, doubt crept in. Would she accept his help if she knew the truth? Would she see him as just another wealthy benefactor? The evening wore on, bringing with it a new resolve. Mark found himself reaching for his phone, trembling slightly. The decision he had to make felt monumental. Just then, his assistant knocked softly and entered the room, her worried expression evident. "Sir, there's news you need to hear. A new opportunity has come up to invest in local businesses, something that might benefit not just the bakery but the whole community." His pulse quickened. This was it. This chance could change things, a way to bridge the gap between him and Sarah. If he could harness this opportunity, he could not just support her dream but also help mend the wounds in his own heart. At that moment, clarity washed over him. Arrange a meeting with the board. "I'm all in," he said with a newfound determination, feeling like he was finally on a path to something meaningful. The next day, he stood outside the bakery's building, now a shadow of what he envisioned. Taking a deep breath, Mark pushed open the door, the chime ringing like a fragile bell of hope. Sarah stood behind the counter, her hair slightly tousled, an apron wrapped around her waist. She looked up with surprise, her expression quickly shifting to wariness. "Mark? I need to talk," he said, his voice stronger than he felt inside. "Can we meet? There's something I want to share with you." Sarah tilted her head, uncertainty flaring in her eyes. Could she really trust him? Would she let him in again, or would she keep her heart guarded? The tension crackled in the air as they stood there, both deciding their next move. Would this stranger, this billionaire with a heart, really understand her struggles? And could she let go of her fear for a chance at something more? Sarah's heart raced as she stood behind the counter, uncertain about how to respond. She had poured everything into her little bakery, and as much as she wanted to believe in the possibility Mark offered, doubt gnawed at her like a persistent itch. What's this about?" she asked, careful to keep her tone neutral. She didn't want to seem too eager or too guarded, straddling the thin line of curiosity and fear. Mark stepped closer, the warmth of his presence wrapping around her like a comforting blanket. "I've been looking into ways to support local businesses, and I think your bakery could be part of something bigger. We could work together to revitalize the community." A rush of emotions hit her. Hope flared, but just as quickly it was snuffed by skepticism. "What's the catch?" she challenged. "Why would you, of all people, care about my bakery?" He ran a hand through his hair, a nervous habit she noticed. "I know you don't know me well, but seeing you fight for your dream has inspired me. Trust me, I've had everything a person could want, but without purpose, it's just empty. This is my chance to make a real difference." Sarah felt her walls inching down. The raw sincerity in his voice tugged at her heartstrings. Maybe this was the lifeline she had been waiting for. But would she risk her pride and allow him to step into her life, even for the sake of her bakery? "Okay," she said, swallowing her pride. "I'm listening. What does this partnership look like?" Mark's face lit up, relief washing over him. "I want to invest in your bakery. With the right funds, we can renovate the space, introduce new recipes, and even launch catering. Imagine what it could be. I believe people in this community would flock here for what you create." Jake, oblivious to the gravity of the discussion, wandered out from behind a display of baked goods. "Mom! Can we have cupcakes after dinner tonight? Please." His eyes sparkled with innocence, and Sarah couldn't help but smile at his carefree spirit. This isn't just about cupcakes, buddy," she said softly. Her heart warmed at how his simple request managed to lighten the heavy atmosphere. Sarah turned back to Mark, feeling a deep longing to have what every mother wishes for: stability and the chance to provide for her child. "What if we fail?" she muttered, the fear creeping back in. "What if this doesn't work out?" And I'm just Mark interrupted, "And what if it does?" "You take a leap of faith, Sarah. You've got a gift. You make people happy with your baking, and that is something special. Let us share that joy with more people." She looked into his eyes, steadfast blue pools of encouragement and sincerity. Hesitation lingered, but her heart waged war against it. She needed this. Jake needed this. "Okay," she breathed, "let us do it." Mark grinned, a smile so wide it lit up his entire face. "Great. We'll set up a plan and get to work. You won't regret it, I promise." As they exchanged numbers, a flicker of excitement shadowed the faint outlines of her worries. But just as hope began to take root, a nagging reminder fluttered in the back of her mind: who truly was Mark? What hidden motives lingered beneath his promising demeanor? That evening, as she tucked Jake into bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that this decision was pivotal. Would it bring her closer to her dream, or would it lead to more heartache? The questions circled in her mind, spiraling into a whirlwind of emotions. Just as she closed the door to his room, her phone buzzed with a new message from Mark. "I can't wait to see what we can create together." Sarah stared at the screen, her heart pounding. Was this the beginning of her dreams, or just another gamble that might cost her everything? As she tucked her phone away, the uncertainty loomed large. Would trusting him redefine their future, or would it tear them apart? The night felt heavy with anticipation as she settled into bed, thoughts racing. In her heart, she wished for a sign, something to guide her through the uncertain path ahead. The question hung in the air like a bittersweet whisper: would she finally be able to embrace the dream she had long cried for, or would this leap into the unknown throw her further into despair? The sun peeked through the curtains early the next morning, casting a warm glow over Sarah's kitchen. She rubbed her tired eyes, still carrying the echoes of the conversation she'd had with Mark the night before. The bakery was quiet, the only sound being the gentle humming of the refrigerator and her coffee maker working its magic. Jake bubbled with energy as he raced down the stairs, his hair tousled and his eyes shining bright. "Mom! Can we try that new pancake recipe together?" His infectious enthusiasm wiped away the remnants of her restless night. "Sure, buddy. But only if you help me with the mixing," she smiled and ruffled his hair. Together, they gathered ingredients, bantering back and forth. As they whisked the batter, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe this partnership with Mark could be the change they desperately needed. The warm smells of pancakes filled the air, mixing with the sweetness of the day ahead. Just as they sat down to eat, Sarah's phone buzzed again. It was Mark, reminding her of their meeting later that day. It felt surreal to think about how quickly her life might change. Taking a deep breath, she steeled herself for what was to come. The bakery felt different as she prepared for the meeting. It was alive with possibilities. She placed fresh pastries in the display case, arranging them like gems waiting to be admired. She was excited, but that nagging doubt floated in the background. What did Mark really want? When he arrived, a breeze followed him inside, bringing a refreshing air that made Sarah's heart flutter. He was dressed casually but effortlessly, his presence commanding. "Good morning, Sarah. Ready to get started?" His smile was disarming, easing some of her worries. "I think so," she replied, trying to match his enthusiasm. They sat at a small table in the corner, the sunlight spilling over them like a spotlight. Mark pulled out a stack of papers, plans, ideas, sketches. He spoke passionately about renovations, about creating a thriving spot for community gatherings. His words animated the dream she had nurtured in her heart for so long, like a flickering flame growing stronger, but there were still questions tangled in her mind. "What do you get out of this? Why me?" she ventured, Feeling the weight of honesty in her voice, Mark paused, collecting his thoughts. Because I see something in you, Sarah. You're not just a baker. You're a storyteller, and through your creations, you bring people together. I want to help you spread that magic further, to remind the community what joy tastes like. His sincerity made her heart swell. She wanted to believe him, wanted so desperately to trust. Yet, a voice whispered in her mind, reminding her of the risks she was taking. Would he still hold that same compassion if things got tough? Before she could voice her concerns, the doorbell jingled, ringing in another customer. Jake rushed to greet the new arrival, his playful spirit lightening the atmosphere. Mom, can we make cupcakes next? His innocent excitement echoed through the bakery, pulling Sarah's attention. Mark watched their interaction, a soft smile playing on his lips. You have a real gift with him, Sarah. That love, that passion, it's contagious. The warmth between them felt tangible, building a connection she hadn't anticipated. For the first time in a long while, she felt the tiniest spark of belief in a better future. But doubt loomed again. What if Mark's interest was just a fleeting whim? Could she truly gamble her dreams on someone she barely knew? As their meeting drew to a close and they made plans to start implementing changes, Sarah's heart was a chaotic mix of hope and trepidation. She agreed to review the plans over the weekend, yet a twinge of anxiety tightened her chest. Later that evening, alone in the empty bakery, the weight of her decisions bore down on her. Could she really take this chance? Her phone buzzed with another message from Mark, saying he was excited for their next steps together. As she stared at the screen, the doubts began to squash her excitement. Was she truly ready for this journey? The night dragged on, each tick of the clock amplifying her worries. Would trusting him lead to a fairy tale ending, or shatter everything she had worked so hard to build? It felt like standing at the edge of a precipice, the ground shifting beneath her feet. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and opportunities, but could she seize them? And as she laid her head down, sleep eluding her, one thought pierced through the haze. What if the greatest risk in life was not taking the leap at all? The morning air was crisp as Sarah poured herself another cup of coffee, its rich aroma mingling with the lingering scent of warm pancakes from breakfast. Jake had raced off to school, leaving the bakery quiet once more. She stood alone, staring at the plans Mark had left behind, each page filled with possibilities but also heavy with uncertainty. As she flipped through the sheets, her fingers traced the sketches of the bakery's transformation. A community space with cozy nooks, a vibrant mural, even a little stage for live performances. The visions were dazzling, yet her heart clenched with fear. What if it all fell apart? What if it didn't work? She closed the pages gently, trying to suppress the wave of panic rising within her. The bakery was not just a business, it was her sanctuary, a place where she had built a life for Jake amidst the chaos of her past. Could she really let someone else in, someone as ambitious as Mark? While thoughts churned in her mind, her phone chimed again, pulling her from her spiral of doubt. It was a message from Mark, asking when they could meet to discuss the next steps. She took a deep breath, fingers hovering above the keyboard. It felt so easy to type back, to keep the lines of communication open. But then, what if she said too much? The wave of indecision drained her energy, and she decided to step away from the pages that felt so heavy. Instead, she slipped on her apron and prepared for the lunch rush, moving instinctively between the display case and the kitchen. Kneading dough felt like therapy, her mind emptying as she lost herself in the rhythm of baking. As she shaped bread loaves, a regular customer wandered in, an elderly man named Mr. Thompson from down the street. His eyes crinkled with a smile as he approached the counter. "Afternoon, Sarah. Your pastries always brighten my day, you know." "Thanks, Mr. Thompson. That's so sweet of you," she replied, her heart lightening a bit. As she bagged his favorite blueberry muffins, he looked around the shop, pausing thoughtfully. "What's cooking in your world, my dear? You seem a bit lost in thought today." His gentle probing made her hesitate. She found herself sharing snippets about Mark's plans, reveling in the excitement that tinged her usually modest dreams. "It's just a lot is changing, and I'm scared, you know." "Well, change can rattle your bones," he nodded sagely. "But sometimes, it brings something beautiful." Sarah looked at him, caught off guard by the depth of his words. "Have you ever taken a risk like that?" Mr. Thompson chuckled, his eyes sparkling with mischief. "Oh, many times. Like marrying my wife when we had nothing. Didn't he know what tomorrow would hold, but I knew we had each other. That was worth it, more than any silver or gold." His words resonated, striking a chord deep within her. Maybe the leap was not just about trusting Mark, it was about trusting herself. She thought of Jake, his dreams, and how they could grow together. As midday approached, with customers filling up the cozy tables, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. Each warm smile and grateful note made her realize just how much their little bakery mattered. Maybe she could find a way to embrace both the fear and the opportunity, to merge her passions with Mark's vision rather than letting them clash. At that moment, her phone buzzed again. Mark's name flashed on the screen, and instead of the usual flutter of apprehension, she felt a tentative thrill. She stared at the message. "Can we meet today? I have a surprise I think you'll love." Her heart raced, a blend of excitement tinged with uncertainty. Could today really change the course of her dreams? She gripped the phone tightly, feeling the impending shift in the air, as if the universe itself was pushing her forward. Was she finally ready to let go of her fears? The possibilities felt endless, yet just as frightening. With a deep breath, she hit reply. "Absolutely." As she prepared for their meeting, the thrill of anticipation mixed with trepidation coursed through her veins. A surprise from Mark could mean anything, but what she didn't expect was how that surprise might challenge everything she thought she knew about herself. The bell above the bakery door jingled, breaking the spell of silence that settled as Sarah finished cleaning the last pan. She glanced up, a smile eager to greet whoever entered, but her breath caught when she saw Mark stepping inside, his presence filling the room with new energy. He wore that confident grin that usually tugged at her heart, and today, in the warmth of the bakery, it seemed to spark something even deeper within her. "Hey, Sarah," he called out, his voice bright and inviting. "I hope you're ready for a little adventure." "Adventure?" Her eyebrows lifted in curiosity, and a hint of nervous laughter bubbled up inside her. "You know I usually stick to baking and the occasional drama with Jake." Mark chuckled, stepping closer. "Yeah, but sometimes you need a little nudge out of your comfort zone." He produced a rolled-up piece of paper from behind his back and unfurled it on the counter between them. "Take a look." Her heart raced as she leaned in, focusing on the blueprints. This time, it wasn't just about the bakery, it was an entire community event, planned in collaboration with local artists and musicians. "A festival?" she whispered, her voice barely making it above the hum of the busy street outside. "Exactly. We'll transform the space outside the bakery, invite local vendors, have live music, and bring the community together," he explained, his eyes alight with passion. Sarah felt a flutter of inspiration blossom within her, but worry soon followed. Will they really come? What if we can't pull it off? Mark leaned against the counter, his expression softening. "This place already has a heartbeat, Sarah. You should feel it. People are drawn to what you create, just imagine what we can do together." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, easing the doubt that threatened to push her to retreat. She thought of the smells of baking bread that wafted through the neighborhood, the mornings filled with laughter, and how all of it pulled in the community like bees to honey. "But it's a huge commitment," she whispered, her fingers tapping nervously against the counter. "I've got so much going on with Jake. What if I can't manage both?" Mark nodded thoughtfully, taking in her hesitation. "I get it. But what if, by using this opportunity, you create something special for Jake too? A place for him to see your dreams unfold, to watch you embrace life and change." Her heart tightened. She could see it now, Jake, eyes wide and sparkling, running around with other kids, feeling the excitement of possibility. "You really think so?" she asked, vulnerability lacing her voice. "I believe in you," he replied simply. "And I believe in this bakery. Together, we could show everyone what real community means." Sarah looked at him, searching for any hesitation in his eyes, but all she saw was encouragement and sincerity. Her insides twisted in a hopeful way. Maybe, just maybe, this could be the leap she needed. "What if we started small?" she suggested, biting her lip. "A trial run, maybe? See how people respond." "Definitely." His smile widened. "We can set the date for next month, then work our way up from there. Just think of it as expanding your family, Sarah. Each face that walks through those doors is a member of our community." With a deep breath, feeling the weight of her fears slowly lift, she nodded. "Okay, let's do it." A rush of excitement surged through her veins. She was ready to embrace this new chapter, uncertain yet tinged with hope. As they began brainstorming ideas together, laughter and plans flowed effortlessly. The idea of the festival opened an exhilarating space in her heart. She could feel the walls around her sanctuary begin to crack, allowing room for something beautiful, but just as Sarah felt herself fully trusting Mark, her phone buzzed again, pulling her attention away. She glanced at the screen, and her heart dropped. A message from Jake's school. "Urgent. Please call. Important matter regarding your son." An icy wave of fear washed over her. She looked at Mark, excitement abandoned, anxiety taking over. "I need to take this." She felt the shift in the air, the fragile threads of hope intertwining with the shadows of uncertainty. What could have happened to Jake? As panic bubbled within her, she could hardly bear to imagine the worst. Would she be strong enough to face whatever lay ahead? Sarah's hand shook slightly as she swiped to call the school. The ringing echoed in her ears, blending with the sudden tightness in her chest. What could they want? Had something happened during recess? Did Jake fall? "Hello, this is Mrs. Thompson, the school nurse. Is this Sarah?" The voice on the other end was calm but firm, and that did little to ease Sarah's growing fears. "Yes, this is Sarah. What is going on? Is Jake all right?" "He is fine for the moment, but we need you to come in. He had a bit of an incident during gym class. It seems he was playing in well, we think he might need a few stitches." "Stitches?" The word hung heavily in the air. "How bad is it?" He slipped and fell, and there was a small cut above his eyebrow. "It's bleeding a bit more than we'd like. We want to check him and make sure everything is okay. Can you come immediately?" An initial rush of relief washed over her, only to be quickly overshadowed by a wave of dread. "Yes, I'm on my way." She hung up and turned to Mark, worry etched across her features. "Is everything okay?" he asked, concern evident in his tone. "No, Jake fell at school. They think he might need stitches," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper, trembling on the edges. Every thought of her son's injury twisted her stomach into knots. "I need to go, now." "Of course. I'll come with you," Mark said instantly, his smile fading to resolve. "No, you don't have to. I can manage," she insisted, clenching her fists as she tried to steady her racing heart. "Sarah, you shouldn't have to go through this alone. Let me help," he urged, already moving toward the door as if he didn't plan to take no for an answer. She felt the little glimmer of excitement she had experienced earlier fade into the backdrop of fear. It was a hot mess of emotions, a festival in the making, just like the gentle reassurance Mark had offered moments before. With her heart pounding, she finally nodded, his presence giving her a small sense of strength. As they hurried toward the school, the streets engulfed them in an energy that felt foreign amid her panic. Mark navigated through traffic with confidence, constantly checking in with her, his supportive words cutting through her cloud of worry. "Jake is going to be okay, I promise. Kids fall all the time, and they heal even faster." His optimism, while comforting, felt like it belonged to another world, a world where everything went according to plan. Sarah tried to latch on to his certainty, but doubt gnawed at her. When they pulled up to the school, Sarah's heart raced even more as she spotted Jake sitting on a bench outside the nurse's office, a huge bandage on his forehead and tears glistening in his eyes. The sight twisted painful knots in her stomach. "Mom!" he cried, arms outstretched. She rushed to him, her heart breaking at the sight of his pained expression. "Oh, baby," she murmured, cradling him against her chest. "It's going to be all right. I'm here." Jake sniffled, the bandage looking almost comically oversized on his small face. "It hurt," he whispered, his voice suffused with vulnerability. "I know, sweetheart. But you're so strong. We're going to get you all fixed up." She looked up at Mark, who stood a few steps back, allowing them this precious moment. There was tenderness in the air, in the way Jake curled closer to her, in the gentle way Mark seemed to observe them, like a protector and confidant all at once. A stark reminder that while life could toss unexpected hurdles, love and support could make those hurdles feel a bit less daunting. As they walked into the school nurse's office together, the warm glow of community began to flicker back to life in Sarah's heart. Maybe Mark was right, maybe they could build something beautiful together, even in the face of fear. But just as the nurse began to unroll the gauze, another pulse of worry hit her. What if the stitches meant more time away from the bakery and the festival? What if she couldn't keep everything together? As the needle began to thread the first stitch, she drew in a deep breath, preparing herself. She needed to stay strong for Jake, for herself, and for all the hopes they were beginning to build. Could she balance her dreams and the reality of motherhood without losing herself? As Mark sat beside them, she couldn't help but wonder what awaited them both after this moment. With her gaze shifting between Jake's fearful eyes and the door that led to her future, she knew the stakes were about to rise even higher. The stitching process seemed to stretch for an eternity. The gentle tug of the needle punctured the soft fabric of Sarah's heart more than it pierced Jake's skin. He winced each time, and she couldn't help but instinctively rub his back in soothing circles. Each movement felt like a promise, a quiet vow that she would always be there for him, grounding him as the nurse worked. "Just a couple more, buddy," the nurse encouraged, her fingers deft and sure. "You're doing great." With each stitch, Jake's little face betrayed a jumble of emotions: pain, confusion, and finally, the spark of pride as he gripped his mother's hand tighter. She felt a rush of protectiveness washing over her. No mother ever wanted to see her child hurt. For a moment, all the excitement about the festival faded, replaced by a singular focus on the boy next to her. "I can't wait to see how fast I'll heal," Jake said suddenly, his eyes wide with determination. "I'll even run faster than before. You'll see, Mom." His innocent belief made Sarah smile despite the situation. "You'll be back to your wild self in no time, champ," she replied, her heart swelling. "Just you wait. And I'll bring you ice cream afterward, your favorite. Chocolate chip mint?" he asked, a hopeful glimmer sparking in his eyes. "Of course. You might even get a double scoop after this." She winked, trying to lighten the mood, her voice masking her fear of everything that now felt uncertain. As the final stitch drew tight, Sarah felt a momentary wave of relief. "All done," the nurse declared, peeling back the gauze. Jake blinked up at them, his little forehead adorned with a comically oversized bandage. "See? I told you I'm tough." Mark laughed softly from beside them. "You've got the battle scars to prove it now, buddy. You're a warrior." As she watched them interact, an unexpected warmth expanded in Sarah's chest. Jake had always been her world, and the thought of her son growing up meant sharing moments like these with someone who genuinely cared, someone like Mark. But her heart trembled at the thought of how quickly everything could change. What if she wasn't ready to open her heart? What if her past made her unworthy of this newfound connection? The reality of her previous relationships weighed heavily on her mind, reminding her of all the ways love had failed her. Before she could linger too long in her thoughts, the nurse interrupted. "All right, Jake, let us get you on your way. You'll want to take it easy for the next few days, but can you promise to avoid the monkey bars for just a bit? Jake nodded solemnly, though Sarah caught the mischievous look in his eyes. I will. But maybe just a little swing at the park. Sarah shook her head, both exasperated and amused. Just the swings, okay? We'll save the monkey bars for next week. They gathered their things, Mark helping to carry Jake's backpack as they walked out of the nurse's office. The first rays of afternoon sunlight warmed Sarah's face. Just outside, the schoolyard buzzed with life. Children laughing, their shouts a stark contrast to the tension they had just experienced. It felt surreal. I know I should be in bed right now, Jake chimed, his energy gradually returning. But can we still go to the bakery? I want to help you. Sarah looked at him, that familiar glow of ambition lighting up her son's face. How could she deny him? And how could she let him see her doubt? We can definitely go, but you'll have to promise to take it easy today, she said, half smiling. Mark chimed in, I'm sure we can find something fun in the bakery, right? Maybe we can create some new festival treats together. The thought of being in the bakery with Mark and Jake filled her with joy. Just then, a sudden realization crashed over her. What if this was the beginning of a new routine? A way to blend their lives together in a way that felt right. She could learn to trust again, to heal, just like Jake was. As they reached her car, Sarah took a deep breath. Could she really integrate this unexpected support into her life? Just then, a voice interrupted her thoughts, a familiar one that sent a shiver down her spine. Hey, Sarah. Are you done with the drama for today? The words dripped with sarcasm, but the face attached to them an unwanted memory left her breathless. How was she supposed to handle this? Suddenly, everything felt unsteady again. With her heart pounding, she turned to face the past she thought she might have left behind, uncertain about what lay ahead. Sarah's heart raced as she turned to face the voice. There he stood, Mark's cheerful demeanor abruptly frozen in confusion. Jason. The name slipped from her lips, a whispered reminder of the man who once had her heart. The sight of him sent a dizzying mix of emotions flooding back: anger, love, pain, all tangled together like vines around her heart. What are you doing here? She managed to ask, her voice steadier than she felt. I came to see Jake, Jason replied, his tone deceptively casual as he looked past her to the boy by her side. I heard about the accident. Is he okay? He's fine, Sarah said firmly, not wanting to share more than necessary. We just left the nurse's office. He just needs to take it easy for a while. Jason's expression softened slightly as he knelt beside Jake. Hey, buddy. I heard you took a little spill, he said, the protective tone an echo of the father he could be. Don't worry. I'm tough. Mom even promised me ice cream. Jake grinned, completely unaware of the storm brewing between his mother and father. Of course he did. Sarah couldn't suppress the bitterness that crept into her voice. Just like you promised to be there for him. Jason looked up, surprise flashing across his features. Sarah, I know I messed up, but I'm trying. I want to be part of Jake's life again. I miss him. Miss him? Sarah echoed, the words tasting bitter on her tongue. You had your chance, Jason. You chose to walk away, leaving me to pick up the pieces. I built our lives without you. Jake, sensing the tension, shifted nervously. Can we just go get the ice cream now? Mark stepped forward, his calm presence a grounding force. Why don't we all go? We can have a mini celebration for Jake. He earned it today. The suggestion hung in the air like a flicker of light in Sarah's dark sea of conflicted feelings. Could she allow Jason back in, even for a moment? Jake looked at her with big, hopeful eyes, waiting for a decision she wasn't sure she was ready to make. I don't think that's a good idea, Sarah said, but her voice trembled. Sarah. Jason stepped closer, the vulnerability evident in his eyes. I know I hurt you. I should have fought harder. But I want to do better, for him, for us. She clenched her jaw, trying to push away the memories of shared laughter, hopes, and dreams they once had. Could she allow them to drift back into her life, only to be hurt again? She caught Mark's supportive gaze and felt a rush of gratitude. It's not just about you and me, she whispered, looking at Jake, who was bouncing on his toes, oblivious to the emotional tempest. It's about him. He deserves stability. I can be part of that, Jason insisted, desperation creeping into his voice. Deep down, Sarah felt the walls she erected starting to crack. I need time to think, she said, the words heavy on her tongue. Let me prove myself, Jason pleaded, a softness creeping into his eyes that reminded her of what once was. Mark shifted, breaking the tense moment. How about we head to the bakery first? There's plenty of room for everyone there. We can have some fun. The suggestion broke through the thick air, and slowly, Jake's excitement returned. Can I help with the cookies? He asked, clearly more eager than ever. Of course, kiddo, Mark answered, his warm smile easing the tension as he looked back at Sarah. As they all made their way to the parking lot, Sarah felt torn. Jason walked beside her, lingering just enough to remind her of their past. Fresh air enveloped them as they piled into the car. The weight of uncertainty settled heavily on her shoulders. Would she regret this decision? Was she ready to navigate the complicated waters of their past? Just as she turned the key in the ignition, a sudden thought struck her, another layer woven into the already tangled fabric of her life. What if Jake got attached again? What if the next time they fell apart, the pain was too much to bear? The engine roared to life, as did her fears. What would tomorrow bring? As they pulled away, laughter spilled from the back, but all Sarah felt was the anxious flutter of unwritten chapters waiting to unfold. With every mile, the road felt both familiar and foreign, a path into uncertainty. Sarah's heart pounded as they arrived outside the bakery, the familiar sense of freshly baked goods wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Jake hopped out of the car, bursting with energy. Can we start making cookies right now? He bounced on his toes, eyes shining with excitement. Absolutely. Mark smiled, sliding out and effortlessly waving goodbye to the tension that had just clouded their earlier moments. Jason hesitated in the door frame, unknown emotions masking his face as he took in the vibrant space that Sarah had carved out with mere determination. It was bursting with warmth and laughter, everything he had walked away from. But deep down, Sarah knew that all of it had come at a steep price. How about we all work together? Mark suggested, his voice smooth and light, a beacon in a tumultuous sea. We can share our favorite cookie recipes, the more the merrier. A flicker of uncertainty flickered in Jason's eyes. I don't want to intrude, he said. You're not intruding, Jake said. You can teach me. The innocence in Jake's hopeful proposal shifted the air. Sarah felt the tension ease just a little more, but the worry still percolated in her mind. Okay then, let us do it, Sarah finally said, leading them further into the bakery. The kitchen was already buzzing with potential, the rollers, the whisks, the bowls ready to be dressed with flour and sugar. This was her space, a sanctuary for little miracles that arose from her oven, yet she felt the tug-of-war within her heart. Jason glanced at her, looking to read her emotions. Sarah, I know I messed up. I'm really trying, he ventured, and for a moment, the defenses crumbled. The sincerity behind his eyes drew her in. But now was about Jake. Let us just focus on cookies for now, she said softly while inhaling the warmth around her. As they started mixing the ingredients, Jake darted back and forth between them, cracking jokes and sharing stories of his day. It was contagious, each laugh peeled layers off Sarah's worries. Mark gestured to Jake. You really have a great kid. He makes this even more special. Thank you, Sarah said, a smile creeping across her face, though her gaze flickered to Jason. There was a past tied to those words that still stung. After the cookies went into the oven, they all settled into the cozy corner. Jake recounted tales of school, his innocent laughter weaving through the air. Mark leaned closer and whispered, "That's what we need more of. Love, laughter, connection. You have something incredible here." It felt like a rallying cry, a reminder of why she decided to let Mark in even amidst uncertainty. Feeling brave, Sarah took a deep breath and turned to Jason. "What do you want?" "I want to see Jake," he replied simply, almost defensively. "I want a second chance with you too, but I get why you're hesitant." Wrapping her arms around herself, she could feel the shadows of the past lurking. "It's not just about the two of us. It's about him. He'll need stability. I fought so hard to give him a good life." "I know," Jason said, his voice softening. "And I'm sorry for everything. I never meant to leave. I want to be there for him. If you can give me that chance, I will prove myself." Just then, the oven timer dinged, echoing like a fresh start through the bakery. The cookies were ready to be pulled out, and as they all rushed forward, Sarah felt something shift inside her, a spark of hope intertwining with her fears. The cookies cooked up golden brown, a plate of joy that they gathered around on the small rustic table. "Ready, guys?" Mark asked, his energy infectious. As they shared the warm treats, laughter peppered throughout the room, a balm for her worries. "This is the best!" Jake exclaimed, his eyes wide as he devoured a cookie, the sweet chocolate melting perfectly on his taste buds. "You're right, buddy." Sarah agreed, her heart swelling with warmth. Mark looked at both of them, determination in his gaze. "Things can change, Sarah. Community isn't just about a bakery. It's about support, about being there for one another." It was more than just the cookies, it was the camaraderie, the possibilities unfolding before them. Maybe their shattered lives could meld together like the ingredients mixing in the bowl whole again, fortified by love, understanding, and a sprinkle of hope. "Can we do this more?" Jake squeaked, looking at the adults with wide, hopeful eyes. "Absolutely," Sarah said without hesitation. "We can start this festival and make it our springboard into something greater." She watched as Mark and Jason exchanged glances, more connected than they'd ever been, unified in their desire to support Jake and rebuild what was broken. Standing in that bustling bakery, Sarah felt the grip of the past start to loosen. The shadows no longer weighed her down. Instead, she could see the beauty at the edges of her vision. The laughter of her son, the promise of a brighter future, the trust emerging from the possibility of reconnection. They would face the future together, a newfound family formed through shared struggles and laughter. Sarah took a step forward, wrapping her arms around Jake and Mark, pulling them close. Today was only the beginning. Now, how about we make some frosting to go with our cookies? Yes. Jake cheered, and in that moment, everything felt right. As they began to plan, Mark reached his hand out towards Jason. "Together, we can be much better. Let's do this." A new bond silently formed, a promise that they'd stand united for Jake. And for the first time in a long time, Sarah breathed freely, feeling hope creeping back into her heart, ready to embrace all that lay ahead. Now, dear friends, this is your moment. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories. Here's where the action really begins. Leave a like right now to feed the algorithm. It genuinely makes a difference, not just for me but for this whole community. Comment below, share your reactions and feelings about this heartwarming ending. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel this transformation. Your support fuels the journey ahead.